Jeremiah. Chapter 51. Thus says Jehovah, I will stir up against Babylon and against the inhabitants of Leb-kamai a destroying wind. And I will send strangers against Babylon, and they will winnow her, and they will empty her land when they come against her from every side in the evil day. Against him who bends, let the archer bend his bow, and against him who stands up in his armor, and let them not spare her young men, but let them utterly destroy all her army. And they will fall down slain in the land of the Chaldeans and pierced through in her streets. For neither Israel or Judah is forsaken by his God, by Jehovah of hosts, but their land is full of guilt against the Holy One of Israel. Flee from the midst of Babylon, and let each man save his life, do not be cut off in her iniquity, for this is a time of vengeance to Jehovah, he will give full recompense to her. Babylon has been a golden cup in Jehovah's hand that has made all the earth drunk. The nations have drunk of her wine, therefore the nations have become mad. Suddenly Babylon has fallen and become broken, howl over her, take balm for her pain, if perhaps she may be healed. We tried to heal Babylon, but she is not healed, forsake her, and let each one of us go to his own land, for her judgment has reached to heaven and has been lifted up to the clouds. Jehovah has brought forth our righteousnesses, come and let us relate in Zion the work of Jehovah our God. Polish the arrows, take up the shields. Jehovah has stirred up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, because his purpose is against Babylon, to destroy her, for this is the vengeance of Jehovah, the vengeance for his temple. Lift up a standard against the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong. Set the watchmen, prepare the ambushers, for Jehovah has both purposed and done what he spoke against the inhabitants of Babylon. O you who dwell by many waters, abundant in treasures, your end has come, the measure of your unjust gain. Jehovah of hosts has sworn by himself, I will surely fill you with men like locusts, and they will raise a shout of victory over you. It is he who made the earth by his power, who established the world by his wisdom, and by his understanding he stretched out the heavens. When he utters his voice, there is a tumult of waters in the heavens, and he causes the vapors to rise from the ends of the earth. He makes lightning for the rain and brings forth wind from his treasuries. Every man is stupid, without knowledge, every goldsmith is put to shame by his idol, for his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of delusion, at the time of their punishment they will perish. The portion of Jacob is not like these, for he is the one who formed everything, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance, Jehovah of hosts is his name. He says, You are my hammer, my weapons of war, and with you I will shatter nations, and with you I will destroy kingdoms. And with you I will shatter the horse and his rider, and with you I will shatter the chariot and its rider. And with you I will shatter man and woman, and with you I will shatter old man and young, and with you I will shatter young man and virgin. And with you I will shatter the shepherd and his flock, and with you I will shatter the farmer and his yoke of oxen, and with you I will shatter governors and officials. And I will repay Babylon and all the inhabitants of Chaldea with all their evil which they have done in Zion before your eyes, declares Jehovah. Indeed, I am against you, O mountain of destruction, declares Jehovah, which destroys the whole earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon you and roll you down from the rocks and make you a burning mountain. And they will not take from you a stone for the corner or a stone for the foundations, for you will be an eternal desolation, declares Jehovah. Lift up a standard in the land, blow a trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, summon against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Minni, and Ashkenaz, appoint an officer against her, bring up the horses like terrifying locusts. Prepare the nations against her, the kings of the Medes, their governors, and all their officials, and all the land of their dominion. And the land trembles and writhes, for the purposes of Jehovah against Babylon stand, to make the land of Babylon a waste, without inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have ceased fighting, they remain in strongholds, their might has failed, they have become like women. Her dwellings are on fire, her bars are broken. Runner runs to meet runner, and messenger to meet messenger, to announce to the king of Babylon that his city has been captured from end to end. And the crossing places have been seized, and they burn the marshes with fire, and the men of war are terrified. For thus says Jehovah of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor at the time when it is trodden, yet a little while and the time of harvest will come to her. Nebuchadrezzar the king of Babylon has devoured me, he has crushed me, he has made me an empty vessel, he has swallowed me up like a dragon, he has filled his stomach with my delicacies, he has washed me out. The violence done to me and my flesh be on Babylon. The inhabitant of Zion will say, and my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea. Jerusalem will say, therefore thus says Jehovah, I will indeed plead your cause and execute vengeance for you, and I will dry up her sea and make her fountain dry. And Babylon will become a heap of ruins, a habitation of jackals, an astonishment and a hissing, without inhabitant. They will roar together like young lions, they will growl like lions' whelps. When they are inflamed, I will set out their drink, and I will make them drunk, that they may be merry and sleep an eternal sleep and not wake up, declares Jehovah. And I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with male goats. How Sheshach has been captured, and the praise of all the earth seized. How Babylon has become an astonishment among the nations. The sea has come up over Babylon, she is covered with the multitude of its waves. Her cities have become a waste, a dry land and a desert, a land in which no one dwells, through which no person passes. And I will punish Bel in Babylon and bring what he has swallowed out of his mouth, and the nations will not stream unto him any longer, even the wall of Babylon will fall down. Come out from the midst of her, my people, and let each man save his life from the burning anger of Jehovah. And lest your heart faint and you become afraid at the report that will be heard in the land, for the report will come in 1 year, and after that a report in another year, and violence in the earth, ruler against ruler. Therefore indeed, days are coming, when I will punish the idols of Babylon, and her whole land will be put to shame, and all her slain will fall in her midst. And the heavens and the earth and all which is in them will give a ringing shout over Babylon, for out of the north the destroyers will come against her, declares Jehovah. Babylon is also to fall for the slain of Israel, as all the slain of the earth have fallen for Babylon. You who have escaped the sword, go and do not stand still, remember Jehovah from afar, and let Jerusalem come up in your heart. We have been put to shame, for we have heard reproach, disgrace has covered our faces, for strangers have come into the holy places of the house of Jehovah. Therefore indeed, days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I will punish her idols, and throughout her land the wounded will groan. Though Babylon mount up to the heavens, and though she fortify the height of her strength, destroyers will come from me to her, declares Jehovah. The sound of a cry from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. For Jehovah is destroying Babylon, and he will cause the loud voice to perish from her. And their waves roar like many waters, the noise of their voice is raised. For a destroyer has come upon her, upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken captive, their bows are broken into pieces, for Jehovah is a God of recompense, he will repay in full. And I will make her princes and her wise men drunk, her governors and her officials and her mighty men, and they will sleep an eternal sleep and not wake up, declares the King, whose name is Jehovah of hosts. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon will be utterly laid bare, her high gates will be burned with fire. So the peoples will have labored in vain, and the nations, only for fire, and they will have wearied themselves. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Seraiah the son of Neriah, the son of Maaseiah, when he went with Zedekiah the king of Judah to Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. Now Seraiah was quartermaster. And Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that would come on Babylon, even all these words that are written concerning Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Seraiah, when you come to Babylon, see that you read all these words. And say, O Jehovah, you have spoken concerning this place, to cut it off, so that nothing should dwell in it, neither man nor animal, for it will be an eternal desolation. And as soon as you have finished reading this book, you shall bind a stone to it and cast it into the midst of the Euphrates. And say, thus Babylon will sink and will not rise up because of the evil which I will bring upon it, and they will weary themselves. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Jeremiah. Chapter 52. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah, from Libnah. And he did what was evil in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For it was through the anger of Jehovah that this came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah until he cast them out from his presence. And Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. And in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, on the 10th of the month, Nebuchadrezzar the king of Babylon came, he and his whole army, against Jerusalem and encamped against it, and they built a siege wall against it all around. So the city came under siege until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. In the 4th month, on the 9th day of the month, the famine was so severe within the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city was breached, and all the men of war fled, and they went out from the city by night by way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden, while the Chaldeans were all around the city, and they went by the way toward the Arabah. And the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and they overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. And they seized the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath, and he pronounced judgments on him. Then the king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and he also slaughtered all the princes of Judah at Riblah. And he put out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him with bronze fetters. And the king of Babylon brought him to Babylon and put him in prison until the day of his death. And in the 5th month, on the 10th day of the month, this was the 19th year of King Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the bodyguard, who stood before the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of Jehovah and the king's house and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every large house he burned with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans who were with the captain of the bodyguard broke down all the walls around Jerusalem. And the poor of the people and the rest of the people who were left in the city and the deserters who deserted to the king of Babylon and the rest of the multitude, Nebuzaradan the captain of the bodyguard carried away into exile. But Nebuzaradan the captain of the bodyguard left some of the poorest of the land to be vinedressers and field workers. And the Chaldeans broke in pieces the bronze pillars, which were in the house of Jehovah, and the bases and the bronze sea, which were in the house of Jehovah. And they carried all their bronze to Babylon. And they took away the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the basins and the spoons and all the bronze vessels with which they ministered. And the captain of the bodyguard took away the dishes and the fire pans and the basins and the pots and the lampstands and the spoons and the bowls, that which was of gold, for its gold, and that which was of silver, for its silver. As for the 2 pillars, the 1 sea, and the 12 bronze oxen, which were under the bases, which King Solomon made for the house of Jehovah, the bronze of all these vessels was beyond weight. And as for the pillars, the height of 1 pillar was 18 cubits, and it was 12 cubits in circumference, and it was 4 fingers in thickness, it was hollow. And a bronze capital was upon it, and the height of each capital was 5 cubits, and the network and pomegranates were upon the capital all around, all of bronze, and the 2nd pillar and the pomegranates were like these. And there were 96 pomegranates on the 4 sides, all the pomegranates on the network were 100 all around. And the captain of the bodyguard took Sariah the chief priest and Zephaniah the 2nd priest and the 3 doorkeepers. And from the city he took 1 eunuch, who was overseer of the men of war, and 7 men from the king's inner circle who were found in the city, and the scribe of the captain of the army, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the midst of the city. And Nebuzaradan the captain of the bodyguard took them and brought them to the king of Babylon in Riblah. And the king of Babylon struck them down and put them to death in Riblah, in the land of Hamath, so Judah was carried away into exile out of its land. These are the people whom Nebuchadrezzar carried into exile, in the 7th year, 3,020, 3 Jews. In the 18th year of Nebuchadrezzar, 832 persons from Jerusalem. In the 23rd year of Nebuchadrezzar, Nebuzaradan the captain of the bodyguard carried from the Jews 745 persons into exile. There were 4,600 persons in all. And in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim the king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 25th of the month, Evil-Merodach the king of Babylon, in the year that he became king, released Jehoiakim the king of Judah and brought him out of prison. And he spoke with him kindly and set his throne above the thrones of the kings who were with him in Babylon. And Jehoiakim changed his prison garments and ate his food before him continually all the days of his life. And for his allowance, a continual allowance was given to him by the king of Babylon, a portion for each day, all the days of his life until the day of his death.